I write to you now, but I do not write from my room, with a bed so soft and a window so bright. I do not write from my own home, with couches so comfortable and food so good. Oh, food. How I miss it. Water, too. If I can get one drop, oh, how I would thank God. Well, I'd thank someone for it anyways. I do not write from my treehouse among friends so dear, chirping birds so near. I do not write from the world you live in right now, no. I write from a much, much worse place. It's ironic because during my last moments in the world, I couldn't imagine any sort of place worse than the place we call Earth. I thought such a place couldn't possibly exist. How wrong I was. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Patrick, and for you to understand my train of thought, I'll need to take you back a little. Back to the world God, your God, no longer mine. Put me on. Oh, the 80s. What a time to be alive. Great movies, great music, somewhat. Great friends, great family, great house, great life, great... Sorry, I'm rambling. 11 years old. That was me. Living in a suburban home with my mother, Sarah, my dad, Vincent, my asshole 13-year-old twin brothers, Darren and Bryce, and of course, my 5-year-old sister, Nancy. Come to think of it, I wonder how she's doing right now. Sweet little Nancy. She was always so precious, so innocent. I hope what we went through never changed that. Anyhow, I can remember the day so clearly. I was playing a basketball game of 2-on-1. I was the one. With Darren and Bryce. The two jerks were creaming me, of course, never hasting to shove me around and taunt me. "Patrick, you're ass at this," he said. Well, of course I was ass. I was an 11-year-old playing 2-on-1 against two 13-year-old pricks. Actually, you know something? I'm gonna stop calling them names. See, when you're on Earth, it's easy to call your family members names and quarrel with them constantly. Where I am now, though, you'd give anything to hug them just for 5 seconds and tell them how much you love them. Oops. I'm rambling again. Well, soon enough, our mother called us in, as we were having some guests over that night. Our new neighbors. The new neighbors in question were the Hofmeister family. Up to that point, all I had heard my brothers say about the Hofmeisters were things like, "They're creepy as shit," and "weird-ass people who gotta go." I didn't share these opinions. They seemed like okay people to me. Nonetheless, the Hofmeisters came over that night. The family consisted of 3. First, there was 60-year-old Eileen, a skinny woman with short gray hair, always wearing black dresses. Next, we had none other than 60-something-year-old Leo. Don't really remember that bastard's age, nor do I care to. Also, extremely thin, with a long nose that could make the pasty white guy on the Pink Panther show jealous. Then there was David, their 11-year-old insecure adopted son. I'm pretty sure Leo and David are in the same place I'm writing from right now, but I'm not certain. See, we don't really get to speak with anyone else here. Anyways, it was quite an eventful evening. Eileen and Leo had tea with my parents while Darren, Bryce, David, and I hung out in the treehouse, playing cards. In the treehouse, I started to get to know David a little better. I must say, though, he seemed a bit on the weird side. He was pretty awkward when it came to discussing things such as where he moved from or what life at home was like. Still, he was a nice kid, just very shy. Later that night, when the sun went down, my brothers had already gone home, and David and I were walking down our street lamp-lit road. That's when he invited me back to his house for a bit. It was a Friday night, so I figured it would be okay. Let me say this, his house was big. It was the biggest house in the neighborhood, down at the end of my street, sitting on a high hilltop, as if it were better than all the others. Behind it was a large field that eventually merged into some woods, which lined the horizon. Entering David's house, we walked into his kitchen, where he told me to take off my shoes so as not to upset his parents. I heard some footsteps upstairs, so I figured his parents must have gotten back from my house. We sat down on his counter eating yogurt, with David continued to dodge my questions about his home life, or just his life in general. All I knew was that he was adopted. Soon enough, I heard Eileen upstairs. "David, come upstairs, please," she said. David told me to stay put, as he'd only be gone a minute, and just like that, he was gone. I sat alone in their kitchen, finishing off my yogurt cup. I decided to get up and look around a bit to keep myself busy while David was upstairs doing whatever the hell he was doing. Looking at the fridge, I got a look at some of the pictures that were magnetized to it. These included family photos with grinning faces of Eileen and Leo and the frowning face of David. Why did David look so unhappy in all these photos? Oh, and another thing. There was a photo on their fridge of some kid sitting on the floor of what looked like a cellar, just staring up at the camera with a blank face. Strange. I then walked over to the shelf in their living room, which was stocked with framed photos and figurines. Lots of self-portraits here, including one of Eileen. Her expression blank, eyes looking very cold and lifeless for some reason. It kind of reminded me of this portrait I'd once seen of the famous cowboy named Buffalo Bill. Same sort of stare and expression, and whatnot. Anyway, sorry. I don't even know why that came to my mind. I stared at some of the figurines on the shelf. A Mickey Mouse doll, a monkey doll, this one creeped me out, and a pentagram necklace. Oh, and there was also a crucifix necklace, but the cross was upside down. What idiot messed that up, I thought to myself. I then realized David had been gone for a while, and I was getting a little bored with looking at people's decorations. I decided to go upstairs and find him. Walking up the stairs, I began to hear some weird noises coming from one of the rooms upstairs. It sounded like chanting, and as I got to the top of the stairs, I confirmed that it was. I looked down the upstairs hallway of the Hobmister home and saw that one of the rooms had a light on the inside, the door open just a crack. As I walked toward the door, I could clearly hear Eileen and Leo chanting in some weird language I've never heard before. I slowly crept toward them, a decision I regret to this day. I pushed the door open slightly, just enough to see Eileen and Leo on the floor on their hands and knees, bowing down to something that was just out of my view. I didn't dare open the door any wider than I already had, even if it meant satisfying my curiosity to see what in the blazes they were bowing down to. From my point of view, I could see a small cauldron filled with steamy liquid. Leo was blowing cigar smoke and spitting rum into his bowl. The whole atmosphere in the room was different. I don't know how to really describe it, but it was like I could feel the presence of someone else there. But I couldn't see them. Then I saw David, in the back corner of the room, curled up in a fetal position, bawling his eyes out. He looked more terrified than anyone I had ever seen. Well, up to that point. Now, it's a different story. David's terror only grew when his mother, if you even want to call that awful witch such a thing, stormed over to his corner of the room and grabbed him by the wrist, pulling him up off the ground in an attempt to get him to bow down to whatever they were bowing to. I could see his fear grow as he watched Leo pull a rooster out of the burlap sack and chop its head off in a brutal animal sacrifice. Then his face went white with horror as he realized how much trouble he was in when piss began running down his leg onto the floor. That did it. Eileen began slapping David over and over again, angrily screaming at him. "You never, never do that in front of the beast," she screamed. The beating eventually stopped, and David was just a heaping mess in a puddle of his own tears and piss. Decided it was a good idea to get the hell out. I turned to exit, but in my haste, I knocked over one of their many picture frames that lined a desk upstairs. I winced when this happened, knowing that it was about a 99.99% probability that the devious couple down the hall had heard it. I rushed down the stairs as quick as I could, nearly tripping myself. I didn't care. I just wanted to get out. Still, poor David. I wish I could have done something to help. The door handle, I prepared to make a hasty exit out of the front door of that dreaded house. Then, I stopped dead in my tracks. Holy shit, no, please don't tell me. Yep, my shoes were still in the kitchen. I ran for dear life toward the kitchen, locking onto my shoes like a missile. I grabbed them. Yes! Hello, Patrick. No. I looked up to see Eileen standing on the upstairs balcony, looking down over me with an overly friendly expression on her face. I was frozen in place. Do I run? No, that would just look stupid. Also, she'll know I saw what those creeps were doing up there. Hey, I managed to utter out. I didn't realize you were still here, said Eileen in a much too friendly manner. Oh, yeah, sorry. No need to apologize, she said. But it's getting quite late. You should get home. Don't need your parents coming over here now, do we? No, we don't, I thought to myself. I managed to stammer out some stupid reply before saying goodbye and rushing to their front door, bursting out of it. I'm never going back there, I thought to myself. If only that were true. As I ran home, I looked back at the house, and what I saw chilled me to the bone. In one of the bedroom windows was Eileen, just standing there, staring at me. When she saw me look, she raised her hand and waved. That was it. She knew what I had saw. Damn it! Well, I ran home as fast as my feet could take me. Immediately, I told my brothers. Told them about the beatings, the chanting, the cauldron, and Eileen repeatedly addressing someone or something in the room by the names the Beast and Lucifer. Well, my stupid brothers proceeded to spread the story around the whole school until everyone knew. Everybody knew that David's parents were the freaky witches at the end of the street. Exaggerated and blown out of proportion, the story spread like wildfire. David refused to talk to me, knowing it had been me who had spread the rumors. I felt horrible for him, but I didn't know what to do. I was too afraid to get the police or child services after what I saw at that house. I was too young to know that was what I had to do, and it was not a choice. I tried to push the whole thing into the back of my mind. That wasn't until Halloween night, a few weeks later. Good old Hallows Eve. It was one of my favorite holidays ever. That Halloween night, I was doing everything a kid should be doing, trying to pack as much candy as humanly possible into one pillowcase in one night. My friends and I were trying to get all the local neighborhoods so we'd be able to mow down on candy for months. However, my plans were ruined when we ran into my brothers and their devious, loudmouth friends. My brothers took me aside and told me I had no choice but to show them the window of the room I had seen the Hoffmers doing their deeds in. There was no arguing my way out of it, and soon, I found myself back at that dreaded place. My brothers, their friends, and I stood at the Hoffmasters' yard on the side of the house. In the driveway were moving trucks. I wasn't surprised. Those people had been humiliated. I was actually really happy to see these creeps wouldn't be living down the street from where I sleep anymore. My brother Darren confirmed that they were moving because of the rumors. Well, before I knew it, my brothers were forcing me to climb a tree and get a better look at the window on the side of the house. They wanted to see if there was anything bad shit crazy that would be visible in it. And of course, me being the pushover I climbed the tree, and it seemed like all was going well until the light in the window shut off. This was the first sign that something was wrong. However, before I could get down from the tree and tell my brothers to piss off, we all heard the front door open. Of course, my brothers and their friends took off, leaving me up in the tree. Eileen must have heard them, because the next thing I knew, she was prowling the side of the house and examining the muddy footprints left by my brothers and their friends. This is it, I thought. I'm gonna snap a branch or fall or something, and she's gonna catch me. But by some miracle, Eileen didn't see me up in her tree and went inside. Well, I hightailed it out of there, leaving my pirate hat, part of my Halloween costume, lying on the ground in their yard. I never wanted to even look at that damn house again. I sprinted down my street and through my neighborhood, all the way down to the schoolyard, where my friends and I agreed to meet up after my brother's little scheme. And to my utter dismay, my friends were nowhere to be found. I could say at this point was that my brothers had still better had my damn candy in their possession. I looked around in the schoolyard a bit more. Nothing. Not a sign of my friends. It must have been pretty late at that point. There weren't even trick-or-treaters on the streets anymore. I knew my parents were gonna kill me, so I started to head home. A walk home on Halloween night was the coolest thing ever. It was peaceful, spooky, and unsettling, all at the same time. I kinda liked that creepy feeling. It's what gave Halloween its charm. However, I don't really like the feeling of terror. Kind of like the terrifying feeling that came over me when I noticed that I was being followed by Leo Hoffmer's pickup truck. Great. And behind me were Eileen and Leo. Leo, of course, being the lapdog that he was driving. Eileen was sitting in the passenger seat. They knew. They knew I had spread those rumors. Who else could have? No one. I was the only one that visited their new house. I ran as fast as I could down the street, their old pickup truck continuing to cruise after me. I eventually veered off the sidewalk and into the woods. I ran faster than I ever had in my life that night. Dashing through the woods, I looked back over my shoulder to see their truck, which was parked on the side of the road next to the woods. Holy shit, I thought. I am dead. These people are nuts. Unfortunately, looking back at their truck parked, I did not see the fallen tree trunk in the middle of my path, and as you guessed, I tripped over it, knocking every last bit of air out of my lungs when I hit the ground. I crawled, gasping and wheezing for air, and the next thing I knew, the menacing figure of Eileen was standing over me. She looked so frightening in the moonlight, her gray, stringy hair being illuminated as the rest of her face remained dark and hidden. Even more frightening was when she held out my pirate hat and dropped it onto my lap. Great. This was strike 2 for sticking my nose where it didn't belong, and somehow I got the feeling that I wasn't getting a third. "Aw, Patrick, you took a nasty fall," sneered Eileen. "Let us take you back to our new house and take care of you. There, we'll make you feel healed and new."